Something that is really, really cool about the camera is that the camera will automatically pan to follow you around during video calls with a new feature called Center Stage. Yeah, you're right. That was probably one of the most exciting Apple Day events that we've had, like spring Apple events that we've had in a while. They had the new iMac, iPad Pro, AirTags. We have Apple TV 4K, new remote. It was a lot of big, exciting products. Anyways, welcome back to my show. Hope you guys are having a great day. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe to my channel. We talk about tech news, business news, everything else going on in the world. So I don't know if you guys saw, but Apple's spring event was absolutely massive. This was one of the most exciting spring events they've had in a while. They had really like 8 big announcements. Really, it was first the iPad Pro with new M1 chips. Then they also talked about a redesigned iMac with a bunch of new colors, also an M1 chip as well. They also released AirTags. These have been in the works for a while now. There had been rumors going around that they would release these at this event, and they finally did. It felt like they had kept pushing this release date back. It felt like we had heard about these AirTags for over a year. We already saw Samsung release their smart tags about a couple weeks ago. We saw Tiles continuing to upgrade theirs. So it was about time that we saw Apple release theirs, all going to be connected to their Find My network. In addition to that, we also saw the Apple TV 4K. It basically was very similar to the older models, a couple of new updates there. Big change with that, though, was the Apple TV remote. Brand new, redesigned there. That was something that people really didn't like. There was a lot of issues with it. Too small, didn't have all the functionality. Changed a lot of things there. And some things not related to products, but they announced a new season of one of their most popular shows on Apple TV, and Ted Lasso. And at the end of that, they also spoke about the podcast app. They said there's going to be a complete new redesign. They're going to have subscriptions that are going to come out. Subscriptions are going to be similar to like Patreon, compete with the likes of Patreon. So new colors for iPhone 12, whole new lineup for iMac, iPad Pros, AirTags, and a bunch of other things. So I don't know. The first one we're going to talk about is the iMac. So iMac came out with a brand new, completely redesigned iMac, from, having a slimmer design to having a new new MagSafe, basically charger that is magnetic for the back. They also came out with, new M1 chips. So the iMac essentially is the best performing iMac that we've ever seen released. It has brand new M1 chip, and the thing that really sets this apart is that it's the first time that they're coming out with a whole new lineup of colors for the iMac. Previously, colors had really just been reserved to the phones, the iPhones and things like that. But now they finally came out with colors for the iMac. Not only are the colors for the iMac, but they're also for the keyboards, the mouse, the trackpad. Everything can match in specific colors. They have 7 different colors: blue, green, red, silver. They have yellow, orange, and purple. So very exciting there, just on the basics and the look of it. But let's get into what exactly it has. So now it's only 11.5 millimeters thick. So it's really, really thin compared to the older model. This model has a flat back to it. Previous iMacs had a curved, rounded back. One thing that they spoke about in particular during the event was, first of all, the M1 chip, which makes it more efficient, run faster. And they said with this M1 chip, it should be able to run a lot cooler than the other models. Also with that, they spoke about having multiple fans integrated, small fans, that rather than having a whole, fan system, they're much smaller fans to then keep it less, it's not as noisy, still keeps the device cool. So that is important as well. And right now with weight, so they said this one is going to be around weigh significantly less than other models out there, and the big changes with also the power connector, rather than plugging it in, it is going to be just a magnetic. It just pops into place using a magnet. So pretty exciting stuff. I recently bought iMac, not the new one, but I did buy one recently, and this has some major upgrades to it. I like the colors. I like the new, 4.5K Retina display. I like how the camera, now the front camera is 1080p, so FaceTime is going to be a lot more clear than previous models. They had 1080p on the older ones, but for upgraded versions, this comes standard. So that is exciting. And so they have, better sound systems, better cooling system, new M1 chip, flatter design, and starting price for this, I don't even think I went over that, but starting price for this is at, the starting price for the iMac is going to be right around now the $1,299. And you could get the higher end one for $1,499. So still pretty reasonable price for an iMac, with all the capabilities, considering how much the phones are. But there's some exciting changes. So one thing that we didn't mention was the keyboard. So the keyboard, now they have 3 different models of the keyboard. You can get some that have Touch ID. Some keyboards have the Do Not Disturb button on it. And you could it depends on which one you want to get. Next up is a big announcement they made was with the iPad Pro. Now the iPad Pro also is going to be supercharged by the M1 chip as well. Same as what happened with the iMac that they announced with the iMac. And this is going to mean, it's going to be much better performing. So if you want to do editing, you want to have, you really want to use this as for a studio, for editing quality, and it's going to be much, much more efficient. In addition to this, something that really is a game changer is the new ports that they put in the iPad Pro. So with the iPad Pro, videos, if you did any sort of Photoshop, large files like that, a little slow on the data transfer, but now it supports Thunderbolt 3 as well as USB 4. And that is really, really going to speed up the data transfer time. Data transfer time is going to make that much more efficient. Well, another thing that I really like about this is they have the millimeter wave 5G connectivity. They brought 5G to the iPad Pro. And this, while the 5G model and having 5G would reduce battery life a little bit, I think it's still really important because speeds up times, and that will be really important as well. One thing to keep in mind, though, is similar to the other models that they've had in the past, they've actually upgraded the front-facing camera for FaceTime. And what it is they have a 12-megapixel ultra-wide camera with 120-degree field of view. Something that is really, really cool about the camera is that the camera will automatically pan to follow you around during video calls with a new feature called Center Stage. So during the event, they showed a screen where if there's one person in the picture, the camera follows them around. And if there's 2 people or someone walks in, the screen will actually expand. The field of view would actually expand to get both people in it and follow both people around. If there's 3 people, it would follow all 3 people. So that's pretty exciting. That's really cool to see that. I haven't seen that in any other product out there recently, especially in an iPhone. That has not been released in an iPhone. So that is really, really cool that the camera follows you around. So if you move, as long as it's in its field of view, it'll pan to see you better there. So that is called Center Stage. And the iPad Pro also will support, obviously, the Apple Pencil, Smart Keyboard Folio, as well as the Magic Keyboard, which has recently come out. Now let's talk about the AirTag. So AirTag has been in talks for a long time now. It's about time that they came out with this because Samsung has already released theirs. We have Tile, which has been continually making upgrades to theirs. And now AirTag is finally available at a price of $29 for one, or you can get a pack of 4 for $99. And you can start ordering those on April 30th, 2021. So one thing that I really like about this AirTag. First of all, it uses the Find My network. So if you put it on your keys or on, let's say, a wallet, it's all going to show up on your Find My network, same place where you would find any of your devices. That, first of all, something that we would expect. But something that's really cool is a new feature a feature that they have is you actually can tell the exact distance you are away from the AirTag, and you can use your phone to guide you to that exact location. So you can see here, it says maybe it says Deborah's keys. Deborah's keys are like 20 feet away, and it slowly guides you in the right direction, so you walk exactly towards it, telling you how far away you are. And this is mainly because of what they have integrated in it. And what they have in it is, I believe it is the U1. I believe it's called a U1. Yeah, Apple's U1 chip. And that's ultra wideband technology, sound, and haptic feedback to guide people more precisely to where an item is located. So essentially, this just makes tracking any of the AirTags, anything that it's on, much easier, much more accurate than other devices, other trackers out there. So while they do have a lot of competition from Samsung SmartTag and Tile, one thing to keep in mind is that a lot of people are probably going to want to stay integrated fully in the Apple network, Apple ecosystem, and by having the AirTags, I would believe most people would probably get those over Samsung SmartTags or Tile if they have some sort of Apple device or they're on iOS. Either way, though, pretty exciting stuff. This makes it very easy to just find your items. And also they came out with some leather keychains, like leather tags, where you can put these air trackers in. So you see they have a bunch of different colors, and they're just like little key rings essentially. So you can put it right on your keys, you can put it into your wallet. It's fairly thin, and when you do activate it, it'll play a noise just like your phone or iPad or whatever device you normally lost. Play the same sort of noise as that would. So now let's talk about the Apple TV 4K. So there weren't many changes to the Apple TV 4K in terms of design. It's still like the same exact shape essentially, and they've already had an Apple TV 4K in the past, like with 4K quality. The main difference with the new Apple TV 4K is essentially the A12 Bionic chip, which allows for a higher frame rate, lets you play HDR videos at a higher frame rate. So if you're using playing any sort of games on this will have a faster refresh rate as well. It supports 120 hertz refresh rate, which is faster than the older models. The old Apple TV 4K supports 4K streaming as well as HDR, including Dolby Vision, but it didn't have as high of a refresh rate as the new one has. And this is mainly because of the new A12 Bionic chip and some of the hardware that included in this. So really, design is very similar to the old one, but the big changes with this new chip. Another thing with the new Apple TV 4K is that previously, figuring out how to adjust the brightness or how to figure out how the TV should look, the optimal brightness. Now what they did, instead of struggling with that, they added a new feature that essentially you could balance color with a perfectly calibrated combo. They said adjusting your television settings to get the best picture quality can be frustrating. Apple TV 4K now works with your iPhone automatically. To calibrate what you watch, just point your phone at the TV screen, then you sit back, see how amazing your phone is. So essentially what you do is you just hold your phone up to the TV, to the TV, and it can automatically sync and find the best and optimal brightness. So, using your phone. So that would be a lot easier than it previously was. But speaking of the Apple TV, they also came out with a new Apple TV 4K. For that, they came out with a new remote. And this has been something that a lot of people have not been happy about. People have not really been so thrilled about the Apple TV remote. It was a little, not the easiest to use. It was a little small, and buttons really weren't so helpful all the time. So now they did a complete redesign of the remote, redesigned Siri remote it has, and essentially what it is it comes with the Apple TV 4K, and the new remote has, Siri on it, but it also, some exciting things on it is the center dial. So essentially it's similar to, let's say, like a iPod dial, like the old iPod dial. And essentially the control runs in a circle around the remote. It has Siri on the side, and you could swipe to move through long playlists on Apple Music, click on the middle of it to browse, and essentially you can rewind, reverse your video, or rewind, fast forward your videos using the circular dial. They also added some new buttons to power on and power off your TV, and integrated Siri, so you really can control everything just with your voice. So they did make some major changes, a pretty big redesign to this compared to older models of the Apple TV remote. This is exciting because there have been a lot of concerns about previous, and older models of the Apple TV remote. Really has not been the best. It's been one of the worst products that they offer. So now they did a complete redesign. Should be a lot easier to use, a lot better. Now let's go on to the iPhone 12. So they actually came out with a couple of updates to the iPhone 12 in terms of design. So the iPhone 12 now is going to be available, 12 and 12 mini, in a new color for spring, and that color is going to be purple. So, nothing's changing with the design, with the functionality of the phone, but they did come out with the new color of purple. They said essentially, I guess this was a highly requested color. Pretty exciting though, now that they expanded the lineup. They have about 5 or 6 different colors now. They have red, silver, purple, green, blue for the iPhone 12, and so that will be exciting. Doesn't really change anything with the actual functionality, but always offering more colors, more designs is something that people, like to see. And speaking of Apple TV, though, they also came out with, announced a second season of one of their most popular shows, which is Ted Lasso. They played the full trailer, and it looks like it's going to be just as big of a hit as the first season. So on Twitter, actually, Ted Lasso, they came out and said, really they also announced it as well on the Twitter page, saying that on July 23rd, 2021, the second season is officially going to be released. This is exciting because this is one of their flagship shows on the platform. That's why a lot of people are actually using it, because of this show. It's driving a lot of new people over to the platform, similar to how Netflix has done with their original content. Apple TV, they're trying to get their original content as well, and this was a pretty big announcement. A lot of people are excited to see season 2, and which will be debuting on July 23rd of this year. And finally, one of the most exciting changes, in my opinion, one of the most exciting announcements at the spring event was with podcasts. So Apple Podcasts, they just launched in-app subscriptions, and they also announced they're doing a complete redesign of the app. So first of all, with Apple Podcasts business, the company launched subscriptions, which is very similar to, let's say, a Patreon. While Patreon does take about 12% of the revenue from creators, Apple Podcasts and their new subscription is going to be taking 30% of revenue from creators for the first year a subscriber is, like a subscriber. Every year after that, Apple Podcasts is going to take 15%. So first year, they take 30% from, let's say, a creator. Let's say someone is subscribed for 1 year. They take 30% from that year. The second year and every year after that, they take 15%. So essentially, they're doing this to incentivize creators to keep people on the platform, keep people engaged and watching for longer. One problem with this, though, which I think will be, a bit of an issue, is that Patreon right now is a dominant player in that space, and having a lower, they only take 12%, so I don't see any of the major creators moving over to Apple Podcasts and using their subscriptions, the subscription service for Apple Podcasts, just because of the fact that they'll be losing money. It's 30% they take away from subscribers that first year, and then 15% for each subscriber after that. So Patreon having that 12% take rate, I think is going to keep a lot of people on Patreon. But it is exciting to see that Apple is really trying to get into the podcast space more so than they have been. Integrate subscriptions, integrate ways that creators can monetize their platforms other than just, sponsors and third-party things. So they said it's going to be launching in 170 regions and countries next month, and it's just a way for creators to offer extra perks like ad-free, bonus content, as well as early access. Similar things to what you could do on Patreon. Just the one problem that I see with this is that the take rate on the subscriptions for Apple Podcasts is higher than that for Patreon, and Patreon is already the dominant player in that sort of creator subscription space. So we'll see what happens there, but those are really the big announcements from Apple's 2021 spring event. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to get your 4 free stocks, each valued up to $1,600 when you download the Webull investing app using the link down below. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.